On a cold night in 1773, angry colonists dumped tea into Boston Harbor and sparked a revolution. In just minutes, the Boston Tea Party changed history forever. Here's the story in 5 minutes. Picture a frigid December night in Boston, 1773. Tension hangs in the air. A group of men disguised as Mohawk Indians gather at the harbor, not for a party but for protest. They dump 342 chests of British tea into the water, making a bold statement against the British Empire. This act, the Boston Tea Party, was about more than tea. It was a cry for liberty. For years, colonists had been taxed without representation, their voices ignored by Parliament. The tea symbolized British control. Destroying it sent a message across the Atlantic. The colonists would not accept tyranny. Boston, a hub of radical ideas, was alive with talk of rights and resistance. Leaders like Samuel Adams and John Hancock rallied the people, spreading the message of freedom. The arrival of the tea ships was the final straw. The British wanted to assert control. The colonists wanted self-determination. The Boston Tea Party was a dramatic, calculated act of defiance. After that night, reconciliation seemed impossible. The stage was set for a larger conflict, one that would change the world. The spark of revolution had been lit. The world was watching. The Boston Tea Party's roots lay in a series of British taxes. After the costly French and Indian War, Britain taxed the colonies to pay its debts. The Stamp Act of 1765 and the Townshend Acts of 1767 imposed taxes on everyday goods, including tea. Colonists protested, boycotted, and won some repeals, but the tea tax remained. The Tea Act of 1773 gave the British East India Company a monopoly, making British tea cheaper but forcing colonists to accept Parliament's right to tax them. The colonists saw through the scheme. It wasn't about cheap tea, but about principle. Leaders like Samuel Adams and John Hancock with the Sons of Liberty organized resistance. When the tea ships arrived, the colonists demanded they leave. Governor Hutchinson refused. The standoff escalated. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation. The colonists would not be tricked into surrendering their rights. The fuse was lit. Revolution was brewing. December 16, 1773. The deadline for unloading the tea loomed. At the Old South Meeting House, thousands gathered. Samuel Adams gave the signal action, not words. About 150 Sons of Liberty disguised as Mohawks marched to Griffin's Wharf. Their disguise was symbolic. They were no longer British subjects, but something new. In disciplined silence, they boarded the ships, broke open the chests, and dumped the tea into Boston Harbor. The operation was swift and orderly. No damage to ships, no violence. Only the tea was destroyed. Anyone caught stealing was stopped by their own. By dawn, the harbor was choked with tea leaves, a visible sign of defiance. The Boston Tea Party was over, but its impact was just beginning. The city awoke to a new reality. The world would soon respond. The revolution had a face. The consequences would be historic. News of the Boston Tea Party enraged Britain. Parliament responded with the Coercive Acts, known in America as the Intolerable Acts. The Boston Port Act closed the harbor, crippling the city's economy until the tea was paid for. The Massachusetts Government Act stripped colonists of self-governance, increasing the Crown's control. Town meetings were restricted. Colonial rights were under attack. The Administration of Justice Act allowed British officials to escape local justice. The Quartering Act forced colonists to house British soldiers. Instead of isolating Boston, these harsh laws united the colonies. Supplies and support poured in from across America. The Intolerable Acts convinced colonists that Britain intended to rule with an iron fist. Resistance spread. The colonies were no longer divided. Revolution was now inevitable. Britain's crackdown backfired. Boston became a symbol of resistance. The colonies realized that an attack on one was an attack on all. Committees of correspondence spread the call for unity. In September 1774, the First Continental Congress met in Philadelphia, 12 colonies acting as one. They issued a Declaration of Rights and called for a boycott of British goods. Independence wasn't yet declared, but the resolve was clear. The Boston Tea Party had transformed protest into revolution. The image of tea in the harbor became a rallying cry. The path from Boston Harbor led to Lexington, Concord, and independence. The revolution had begun, and history would never be the same.